All right, let's
And
do it.
actually
All
see
right, let's
what you
get into
got.
it.
So let's do it.
All right. So, hello and welcome to the Living Impeccably podcast.
It's a podcast where we discuss wellness in all its forms.
I'm Kevin, and that's Clint.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Clint, today I want to talk to you about overtraining. It's a concept I'm familiar with now, but back when I was 22 and in college, working out up to 8 times a week, and not understanding why I felt drained all the time and not gaining any muscle, the notion that I might be overdoing it was quite foreign to me. So I was hoping today you could tell me a little bit more about where I went wrong in my college lifting regimen, and see if we can help people find the sweet spot of pushing the limits of their body. Not too much, but also definitely not too little. So, what is overtraining?
Mm. I mean, so getting into overtraining, that's obviously there's some markers we look for to describe that. Muscle fatigue, mental exhaustion, and there are a lot of questions, probably more questions than you get when you go to your doctor for your monthly or yearly checkup. And it's a multifaceted answer. And how do you get overtrained? The consequences of overtraining. A couple bullet points in my brain immediately pop up to answer a few things. Muscle fatigue. I mean, there's some things that really go forward into your early college years, right? So like when you were going to college and the first thing you're thinking of is like, what went wrong in my lifting regimen? Well, maybe your regimen was amazing. Maybe.
I mean, it was
Maybe.
pretty good. I researched all the proper exercises. It's just maybe I don't think I was resting enough. Like back when I was in college, like trying to get my music major degree, I remember like literally like sleeping underneath the piano in the practice rooms because I was like, oh, I don't have time to go back to my dorm before class starts. I'm gonna like take a 3-hour nap before class.
Right. So you were obviously super driven at the time to achieve something that didn't really accommodate. I mean, accommodate's a very soft word. I mean, but that didn't even accommodate, like I used to what you wanted to accomplish in the gym. And that's an honest example. A prime example of overtraining is when there are so many facets of your life that require so much attention. At the time you're going to school. For other people, they may be having a 4 you know member family, dog babies that are brand new or human babies, and you're still trying to achieve these goals and at the time, excuse me, let me pause that. What were you trying to achieve while you were in college in the gym? Like, what were you trying to go for that seemed to be hitting a stopping point? Was it strength or was it an aesthetic
My
or
goal in
both?
college? Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I was always trying to just look good. Like being strong was nice, but I was always just like I wanted to like look in the mirror and be like, that's a good looking bicep.
That brachialis, it's really full right now, I say to you. Do you think that, I mean, obviously the amount of rest you were getting was appropriate for the amount of expectation you had in the fullness of the physique you were looking for? How many hours of rest do you think a night you were getting, while pursuing the degree you're going for?
Oh, 7, but like not like a quality 7.
Okay. So, I mean, seven's still balling to me. I mean, as a trainer, I'm like, whoa, 7, that's amazing.
How much are
Um,
you getting every night now?
um, let's see. I'm up normally anywhere between 3:45 and 4:30. Just really depends on
Wow,
a couple days out of the week. I'm getting up around 4:45.
that is
But I mean,
impressive,
I'm
sir.
getting maybe impressive. Let me tell you, man. So the amount of sleep that I'm able to get right now, it's really important that I'm in bed before 10. In bed, try to be asleep by 10. And there's a lot of research that goes into this, peer-reviewed studies, and these also feed into the factual base of growth hormone being released at a certain time, as long as you're in your natural circadian rhythm between 10 and 1. You can get very sufficient sleep, but not adequate to achieve some pretty lofty goals. in the physique world and even in the central nervous system recovery, but you do get access to a great amount of rest that you're still able to operate off. So that's some things I want to touch on briefly. Your rest aptitude, your rest ability, and how we measure our worth. And a lot of times, there's a balance of what worth is to an individual. And I see this all the time coaching, and I'm constantly putting myself in a checks and balance with this. Where am I finding my worth out of my day today? And there's a lot of belief that I have in, the God I serve. And that's something I won't really touch on a whole lot unless asked about it in this podcast. But whenever there is an opportunity to be able to speak on rest and recovery, I will not shy away. The amount of rest one needs isn't necessarily dictated on the hours one has their head on a pillow. And let me explain. You do need a certain amount of hours. So my thesis is or theory, excuse me. My theory is, there is a certain amount of sleep everyone needs, 5 to 7 hours, and it's cool that you get 7 back in the day in college. But you were also driven to the point to have to cram a bunch of knowledge in your brain, and the pressures of whatever was going on in your life at the time, whether it been to cram the knowledge in your brain and recite said name knowledge in a test. By form of testing in recital or written test or essays, homework, and also your other interests in life. I mean, you probably had a relationship at the time, and you probably also had a relationship, with your parents that you were still caring about. A lot of things that feed into a human's DNA, and I'm speaking like you, as in there could be many yous out there, right? Not just Kevin, but there's expectations that we put on ourselves to achieve very, very high goals in a very short amount of time. Totally respect that. Just be mindful. The rest and recovery aspect is going to basically conk out your central nervous system, which is over time. 3 days may feel great out the gate, and then you get a whole day of rest, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can keep doing this. But then guess what? Life hits for 2 weeks straight and doesn't let up. No, 3 weeks straight doesn't let up. But we're still trying to pursue the same goals with less fuel, with less ability. And that's not because your aptitude and your mental state has gone down because you're a bad person, or your physical strength has went down because you're, not doing everything in your power to recover properly. I think there's a large amount of mindfulness that goes into this game we call life, because we're all going to have goals. So that's a huge, huge answer into what is overtraining. That expectations we put on ourselves to create this life that we live, which those expectations absolutely need to be there. Be mindful of if you're finding yourself beating your head against the wall, relax. There's probably a good reason, and it's not necessarily your time to know. But that's part of the mystery of life, is you're going to have to stick around and stay consistent. And sometimes you have to move to the left a little bit and move to the right a little bit. Sometimes that's taking 3 days off the gym instead of just 1. Sometimes that's going to the gym for 5 days to collect data, which we're doing right now. And it's a pretty hard transition. And that's something that, like, as we communicate, dude, we make changes because life isn't always going to accommodate the goals that we set in our brains. So that's, in a nutshell, very small nutshell, because if you know me, I'm long-winded as can be. Overtraining, expectations, and not recovering enough.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like your answer, which I was mostly asking for like people usually talk about overtraining in the context of just the gym, but your answer encompasses a person's entire life, and I think that's fantastic. Because like you're not just a lifter, you're a person, right? So like you can get overtrained from the gym, working out 8 times a week, for example. But you can also get overtrained from like working too much at your job, or staying up too many nights in a row studying for a class or whatever. Or maybe you're just going through a stressful time in your life, like maybe like your pet is sick, or I don't know, you're sick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're just going through a stressful time. So like you can get overtrained from really just not getting enough rest. I think that's the
Mm.
best way to describe it. So like when people usually talk about overtraining in the gym, it's because they're working out too much and not letting their bodies recover from the workouts. Um, and there's a lot of things that go into that. So like you can take rest days from the gym, but also just like when you're not in the gym, make sure you're restful. Like you can be working out 4 days a week, but like if like 7 days a week, like you're playing like 3 hours of basketball outside the gym,
Mm.
you're probably gonna be pretty tired. Your body's probably not going to be able to recover from those workouts if it's still being stressed outside the gym as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about having a goal of training or even having a goal of recovering, exactly. Like, what are the other energy pullers? Is it the basketball? Is it, and then we just even in the conversation of, yeah, in the gym, if you're overtraining your biceps and you're training them 5 times a week because you saw a guy do it on YouTube and he said, this is the way you do it to get big arms, it's sure, watch how well your biceps grow. And based off of life experience and your life experience or the user's life experience, do hard data on that and then get back to me. Because I'm not trying to say that in a cocky way. I'm just saying that as a matter of fact way, because there's just scientifically that's not going to happen. Now, obviously supplementation can help, if you're on performance enhancers or, other types of supplements that are going to enhance your recovery time. Even then, still not going to happen, Chief. Those guys are resting really well.
That's true. Those big guys like that you see like winning championships with millions of followers on Instagram. Those guys, it's their job to lift. So like they're busting their ass in the gym, like lifting for hours. But once they're done, once they go home, they're kicking their feet up. They're relaxing the rest of the day, right?
Bro,
They
they're
went to
getting
work.
paid to
They're
do
done.
this.
Yeah.
They're getting paid a
So,
lot of money. Well, money enough to live off of that they can go because this is something that I'm very familiar with because I've had pro athletes that I've trained with and trained as a trainer. These bros and females, they are living a pretty hard-nosed lifestyle of discipline. Make no mistake, they're not just like not doing anything. But I mean, if you're up in the morning at 5, hit cardio, and then you eat 2 meals, take a nap, and then eat a meal, go train, come home, eat, answer emails, do what sponsors want you to do, and then your day's like pretty much carved out for you. There's a lot of things you can control. We call that controlled variables. So you have a lot of variables going on that normally you have to run around for to hit the gym in. Whereas like the cop or the doctor or the small business owner, they're taking phone calls in the middle of a session and they're trying to do all this other stuff just to get to the gym. And there's a lot of things happening. And talk about a cop stress induction, a cop stress exposure compared to that of a bodybuilder's stress exposure. I've never seen two of them linked up during the immediate action of reaction in case there's a robber or a car pursuit or a breaking and entering compared to a bodybuilder whenever they're training in the gym and then what stressors they have going on in life. I couldn't tell you that. But what I will tell you is their controlled variables of knowing what's going to go on are pretty different. So I think there's a large thing to go into there. But honestly, yeah, those guys are getting paid a lot of money. And they're getting not just paid a lot of money to do the job they're doing, the bodybuilders, to grow that muscle. They have a clear understanding of rest and stress management. So stress management is really huge when you're trying to grow muscle tissue. Because if you're not managing cortisol, the hormone that is released when you're stressed inside your body, just to speak in layman's terms, cortisol is going to go after the best source of energy in your body, and that's typically muscle. It's not going to go after fat. So when you're stressed, your body is going to literally look unhappy. And I can tell when someone's unhappy when they check in the mornings, like when they send me pictures and weight. I'm like, hey, why aren't you smiling? I'm just not normally a smiley person. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. What happened yesterday? What happened the day before? It's like, well, work sucked. And then also my relationships, this, and this. There was a lot of things that led to the body looking and not performing. So to talk about that, Kevin, I think super important. It just as far as how the body can shift its look based off of cortisol involvement with the body, high or low. I think it's important to talk about recovery, and something that can be a huge contributor to that is stress management. And why do you want to manage your stress? Not just to manage cortisol, but to be a good person. First and foremost, be a good person. Like, the world doesn't revolve around you. Be patient and be a good person. So that helps reduce cortisol. Thusly, your body will look better and you will smile more and you'll have a better time. So that's not me just trying to be a good life coach. That's me honestly telling you your body responds to your hormones, and you can help control your hormones without any kind of performance enhancers. A smile is sometimes all you need, and to be grateful. And your body can literally change the way it looks.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like people can tell how you're doing, like not just based on like if you have a smile on your face, but like if you got enough sleep last night. Like if you like got terrible sleep last night, you're probably gonna have bags under your eyes. If you're not hydrated enough, your skin's probably gonna be like a little pasty looking. Your lips might be chapped. But like I definitely get what you mean by like if your body's not happy, like you can tell, like you can see it. Especially with that example of cortisol going after the muscle. Like if you are stressed, your body will look depleted, and like it'll look smaller, it'll look weaker, because your body is literally weaker. It's sad.
It is sad. Yeah, exactly. It's in your cognitive function. Your focus is all short of, 3 fries and a Happy Meal. It's just a very, very difficult thing to get that mojo running. I think cortisol is a big contributor to recovery. Just to at least throw that out there. And what helps cortisol is stress management. And sometimes I've heard people selling supplements, which used to be me. Branched chain amino acids. You need to make sure you're taking all of those, because they provide a shield around your muscle. So when you're stressed, you literally save your muscle, which is somewhat true, but not all the time true. And that's very easy to say. That's like a Google answer, because you can say, hey, is this supplement good for me? And it's like, yes. And then you read another review, it says no.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to the person, right? So
we could have a whole podcast on just BCAAs. But I think the takeaway, my opinion on BCAAs is like proteins are made of branched chain amino acids. Like amino acids are basically like incomplete proteins. Like they make up proteins. So like if you get enough like complete proteins, if you get enough protein in your diet, you are getting enough amino acids. Like if you're getting enough chicken, if you're getting enough eggs, complete proteins, you're getting enough amino acids. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And especially during times of high stress, like they recommend quotations hitting air during high times of stress. So if you're training, it's oftentimes recommended to take branched chain amino acids in a supplement form to help extra protect your muscles and help promote them to grow faster once you get out of the gym, because you're not growing muscle when you're in the gym, you are tearing it down. So that releases cortisol. So it's a stress form, but stress isn't always bad. But the thing is, I'm saying that type of branched chain amino acid concept, yes, you should be getting full profile amino acids, branched chain amino acids with the food that you're consuming on a good nutrition diet, like a whole food nutrition diet, getting good food in and everything like that.
Yeah. It's just like if you're pressed for time, if like you got to work like 8-hour days, you really don't get a chance for like lunch or things like that. That's when you can supplement like BCAAs, right?
Absolutely. And that's going to help your muscles stay in that beautiful alignment, repelling cortisol and aiding your body in recovery.
Beautiful. So there's BCAAs. What other supplements would help? You actually turned me on to ashwagandha, which I've been actually enjoying. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah. I mean, personally, so I'll just give you a quick backstory. When I was first using and experimenting with ashwagandha, I was never really recommended to take it. I just did my research on something that would help me reduce my anxiety, because I was experiencing a large amount of anxiety at the time. And I took this before I went to bed, and I'd wake up like super calm. And that was out of the ordinary for me. And I would try to take it also before I knew I'd be stressed out a lot. So if I was about to go to work, like I would take ashwagandha, or if I knew I was about to go home coming from work where I knew I was stressed, I would take ashwagandha to help me start to climb down the ladder of stress, so to speak. But I use it for a lot of anxiety relief. And it even says on the bottle when you get it from, I can't remember the actual company, but it says like, anxiety relief. But this provides a huge release inside your body to give you more formatted copacetic measures rather than using like larger pill formats. And this also can help lead you into a mindfulness practice. So ashwagandha to me is a great supplement. And I say that very bold caps when I say supplement, to help lead into a mindfulness practice. So once you're able to achieve and you see the effects of ashwagandha, and seeing is feeling that release of stress inside of your chest up to your throat region. And this is something I'm like literally touching my clavicular pec region all the way up to my throat. And that's where I would feel that tension. But once I would take ashwagandha, no more than about an hour and a half, 2 hours afterward, that would release itself. So once I started to see that, I was able to sit in that kind of a placid zone and observe what was stressing me out. And at the time when the stress was so deep and onset, I wasn't able to do that. I would be a little bit too clouded. And a lot of people will, kind of make the comparison of the mud, the water's too muddy, wait for the mud to settle. And there was more so of in a settled state inside of my brain to be able to correlate, what's important? What am I grateful for? Because at the time of high stress, I wasn't able to process that. So ashwagandha is something I found a lot of personal benefit from. And I've come from a long line of anxiety. I was a Marine for 10 years, combat deployments, but honestly, just the anxiety that I incurred from that was something that I still carried, and I could, in a flip of a switch, just go right back to times and places where anxiety was really high. And I needed to figure out a way to disassociate that. And there was a lot of attributed success I'll give to ashwagandha for that, but I will also just say there's a lot of other methods that I've found to be very successful, which I'll talk about later.
I definitely know what you mean by like the ashwagandha helps you get into a state to improve like what's the word I'm looking for? Not meditation, mindfulness. It gets you in a state to practice mindfulness better. Because like, right? Have you ever tried to like meditate where it's just like you're like on a loud bus or something, like or your upstairs neighbors are being really loud and like you're stressed about like a call that you have to go on in 10 minutes or something, like try to like meditate in that environment. It's like impossible, right? Just like in a stress environment. And so like ashwagandha is almost like a way to quell like internal chronic stress that like people just like have pent up in their chest, just like as a baseline, just all the time. It's a way to quell that down so that you can then be in a more relaxed state to then have like a mindfulness practice to be more present, to be less stressed.
Yes. Yeah. You start becoming into what I've been taught by a wonderful, wonderful therapist I have. And I'm no means a certified therapist whatsoever or a therapist. I'm just regurgitating beautiful life events that have helped me understand some things. Your window of tolerance. Being able to bring yourself into a window of tolerance. And that's not to say, hey, I can't go out and great example, like on a crowded bus, people are yelling and you're like trying to meditate. That's some of the best times to practice mindfulness, because when one goes inward to try to really, really practice this, I read a book by Jay Shetty, To Think Like a Monk, and I really think there were some great truths in that book. And
oh yeah, I've read it too. Great book, highly recommend.
So the reference I'm about to hit. I mean, this guy was just a devout monk for years and years and years, and then he applied these practices like on a great example, like a crowded bus or like in a group of people where anxiety is high. You practice mindfulness, you practice those things so you can regulate and control yourself, and your environment doesn't dictate who you are or what you feel. And to bring this all back to center, ashwagandha is a great supplement that you can try right now to help some of that, and just to bring you to a good copacetic state. And it's really good for you. And I'm not going to go into all of the multiple health benefits that it does have, but I mean, a couple is reduce cortisol inside the body and regulate blood pressure. It just at a very natural level. So highly recommend it. And if you are experiencing high levels of stress or having a difficult time sleeping, don't use it as a sleep aid. Use it as something to help you achieve a mindfulness state to allow you to find sleep on your own, because that's the goal.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, no, couldn't have said it better myself. A thing with me is that like I was raised very Western medicine. Like my mom is a nurse. Like I've always been like a sciencey guy, and so like the idea of like ashwagandha as a supplement, because it's herbal medicine, right? So it's more it's literally Eastern medicine because it's Indian. And so like when you told me to go on it, and like I tried to like figure out how it works, do you know how it works? Because Google was very unhelpful. I was Googling for like 30 straight minutes and it was being very vague about how it works. All I was seeing was that it does work. And like, again, I've been on it for like about a week and a half now, I think. And I definitely see an improvement. Like the first night, I think it like just hard reset my system. And I took it at like 8 p.m. I like woke up at 1 p.m. so refreshed that I was like, oh, it must be time to wake up. And then I looked at my phone and it said 1 p.m. I was like, oh, I guess I should go back to sleep. But then I woke up at 5, which is when I normally wake up. And then like not only did my mind feel so refreshed, but my body felt really recovered. And so like that first night, it was just like a hard reset. And then like since then, I've definitely felt exactly what you meant by like that tension in the chest from like the sternum to the throat. That tension is greatly reduced, and just like those in between moments of the day, like I just feel much less anxious, you know. And like I haven't made any other changes like in my life since trying ashwagandha, so like I kind of like the correlation is too strong to ignore, right? Um, like anything herbal, I'm always very dubious about because I'm like, what's the active ingredient? How does it work? Does it reduce cortisol release? Does it bind to the cortisol receptors? Like these, I couldn't find an answer online. Like, do you know like the mechanisms of how it works? Because I don't know if really anyone knows like the clear cut mechanisms, because that's basically the difference between Eastern and Western medicine, herbal medicine, and like doctor writes you a prescription medicine, is that like it's an herb. People have reported consistently that it does work. It's just like we can't be like, oh, it's this chemical structure, like acetaminophen, it binds to whatever, and that brings your fever down or whatever. There's no like active ingredient in ashwagandha. Oh, he's gone. Clint got disconnected. All right, 5-minute break. We'll be back in a second. Here you are.
Kevin, I'm here. I don't know what happened. But I'm going to spit knowledge like I was just doing it. Oh, God. Come back here. Are you here?
I'm here.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. Hi. I'm back.
Hello
okay,
again.
Check it out. Ashwagandha. How does it actually work? I'm going to go right back through it.
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why it will work and why it won't. Let me tell you exactly why it won't work. If you're eating processed foods all the time, and if you're eating fast food, that's one of them. Because your gut microbiome, where your gut microbes are in your belly, that feeds to your immunity. And you made a great point about, hey, I went to bed at 8 and woke up at 1. That's a very significant number, because I just said earlier, from 10 to 1, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. is when your body's natural growth hormone is released in your body. So if you're getting great rest between that time, guess what? You're going to feel great anyway. But what helps you put you in that state? Having access to cortisol reduction inside your body. So your growth hormone isn't interfering or getting interfered with by obstructive cortisol. In a nutshell, if your diet is in line properly, which you're a great model for this right now because you are being, dieted properly, you're eating well. And even just before we got on the call, you were talking about how you and Rachel are making food from scratch. I mean, you're making food from whole source nutrition that's going to help feed gut microbes in a very, very positive way. That's going to give your immunity great benefit. That's going to also feed to your gut brain. okay, that communicates directly with your cranial brain. That's going to allow hormones to be released inside your body that are at optimal efficiency. And that's what we're talking about here. Ashwagandha is a supplement to help achieve those states of optimal efficiency, as long as there are some other markers in line, because you can still be stressed out as a mug, but you're eating clean and you're eating proper as the diet pertains to you, because everyone has their own needs. So eating what your body needs, not what your mouth wants. And sometimes those don't coincide, and the brain will make a decision pretty quickly most of the time on what to eat. And most of the time, that isn't something to feed healthy gut microbes. And sometimes it is for people. And I want to commend those that are, because I'm not saying like, hey, you're good or bad. We're just talking about what's going to be optimal. And I want to make sure the facts are there for that. So ashwagandha is a great supplement, but if you're not in line with it, like I said, how it works, it has to work off of what's been preset inside your body. And if you have a lot of processed foods and a significant amount of health damage, we need to make sure we're doing a little bit deeper work before we look to see such a huge result from ashwagandha.
Yeah, and that's basically all supplements, right? Like that's
Amen.
basically what a supplement is. Yeah. It can only help if the foundation is there, right? So yeah, gotcha. Sick. So I recommend ashwagandha to anyone and everyone. It's been really helpful for that cortisol reduction. And no side effects from what I can really tell, at least from online. And definitely, I haven't noticed any adverse side effects for myself.
I haven't either. I haven't noticed on myself, and I haven't noticed with any of my athletes that use it. Everyone stays pretty hydrated, so that's really not an issue. And most of the time, anything extra from it, I've never overdosed, because there's no point in doing that, because it's a natural supplement, so it's just going to excrete through your urine most of the time, or sweat, but most of the time through urine.
True. Gotcha. But circle on back to the gym side of things. A few questions that I had for you that I wanted to get answered. I know you're a busy guy. I know you got to head out soon. It is getting pretty late here. 8:30.
Yeah, I'm looking at like at 8:30. I do have another call coming in, but I can. Yeah,
we got 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes. We can kill it.
All right. Quick bullet points. All right. So I was training 8 times a week at one point. How much would you recommend a person train to avoid overtraining? We love these vague
Perfect question.
questions.
Perfect question, because that's we can roll it back to a lot of the stuff we already talked about. Okay, if you're training 8 times a week and you're the pro bodybuilder or you're the pro powerlifter, or you're the dude that gets paid to do this, as 8 times, I would love to see what your rest regimen is, what your PED supplement regimen is, and what your nutrition supplement regimen or your nutrition regimen is, and you could probably pull it off. But even then, it wouldn't be for over 2 weeks or even a week at that.
Mm-hmm.
So
not
I wouldn't
sustainable.
recommend. Not sustainable. It would be something like going into show or coming out of show, or off of a really high caloric intake period with a large amount of data post that. Answer.
So you're even saying that like it's possible to work out 8 times a week and not be overtrained, because it has to do with case by case situation, right?
Bam.
And
yep, case by case. Yeah. And if you're not doing that, and if case by case, if you're not one of those guys or girls, really just tone it down to 3 to 4. 3 to 4. Get even that rest period out. Get about 2 or 3 days of rest, and even booger it up to being 2 days on, 1 day off. I would really recommend that, especially if you're reaching plateaus. Do 2 days on, 2 days off, 1 day on, 2 days on, or 1 day on, 2 days off, and give yourself like a good synchronicity of days off to really allow your body and your mental state to clear up to get back in the gym. Because if you're hitting a plateau, it may not always be physical. There's a lot of mental that goes into it as well.
Beautiful. And so that's the amount of training. And then the other thing we hit, which is just like rest as much as you need. Like if you're feeling like your body needs rest, you probably need rest, right? Like if you're feeling like overtaxed, like that's your body telling you, hey, you've overdone it. It's time to rest. You've done a good job. You're hitting the gym a lot. It's time to relax. Right? But I think that's everything. Is that everything you want to talk about?
Honestly, there's a lot more I want to talk about, but I don't have any more time.
Save it for the next one.
I have 3 bullet points here that just need to be slapped, but I'm going to hit them the next time. Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate your time as always, and anybody that's listening. But dude, you're amazing. Thank you so much, and you're amazing for getting all this structured. You're just a G with that. Thank you, dude. Thank you.
Hey, anything to get to spend time with you. It's always a joy to talk to you.
Oh, you turned around on me, man. You know I love you. I love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too, man.
All right, my
You
brother.
have a good
Well,
night. I'll talk to you later.
You too. Thanks, Kevin. Bye, buddy.
All right, man. Have a good night.